Hey guys, it's Hugh here. Bad news, my Battlefield 4 Quick Tip series is dead. But the good news is that I've gotten excited about a new game, well, new to me anyway, called Company of Heroes 2. So this is the start of a new series I'm going to call Get to Know Co. Well, Co2 anyway. In this series, I'm going to cover units, vehicles, and weapons, and break down their stats, their abilities, and any tips I've gathered from the obscene amount of Co2 casts I've watched and forum posts that I've read. I'm going to take all of it and package it up for you in a short video. I'm changing the way I do my recording and editing process, so hopefully it'll mean that I can get more videos out faster, and there won't be too big of a quality difference between the two. So let's get started. The first unit I'm going to cover is the Walking Stuka, the Stuka-WHO, or the Wurfarmen 40, if I'm to do a terrible German impression. It is, of course, an indirect fire unit. It only has a barrage ability. There's not really any direct fire outside of the terrible, terrible machine gun that's located on top. But if you're watching this video, you probably already know and have used this unit. What you may not know, or what you may not have realized, is that the barrage does not exactly begin at the very start of the arrows and the very last of the arrows. In fact, the barrage, interestingly, always begins at the third arrow if they're going to the right, or if obviously the third arrow as we're going to the left here. So if I want to shoot a rocket that hits this little guy hunkering here, if I put it right at the tip here, every time, even at max range, this rocket will hit. Let's give it a test here. So I fired off a rocket, and we should see a rocket land basically right in this guy's lap. Oh, there we go. So that begs the question, where does the last one hit? So the last one does hit mostly around this last arrow or second to last arrow. The problem is that the last rocket is never as accurate as the first one. So the last rocket, if I were to shoot it aiming for, say, this sandbag here, I would expect it to hit somewhere within sort of a circle, depending on how far away I am. The closer I am, the more tightly it's going to be, but since I'm a medium distance, what do you know, hit right in the center. You know what, let's give this another shot here. Let's give this a shot from a little bit farther away, maybe a max range. I don't anticipate it to directly hit this truck here. I would expect it maybe somewhere in this circle. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, pretty close, but not directly on the truck. Okay, so maybe that's not the most useful thing in the world, because most players that you play against are going to try, at least, and move their units. So most players that you play against, if you play at my level, which is pretty poor, a lot of times they're just going to insta-retreat. They're just going to hit that retreat button, and they're going to run back. Some players, however, if you're playing at the higher levels, will maybe move their player, or their models, I should say, just up a little bit, or maybe a little bit off to the side. They're going to kind of scatter. So with this in mind, what you want to try and do whenever you're doing one of these barrages is to anticipate what your opponent's going to do. So rather than say, cool, I'm gonna nuke these guys right here, and do a barrage like this, you fire one off and you figure out, what are my opponents typically doing? And if you see that they're mostly retreating, what you should do is go ahead and fire on the retreat path. So I know if I'm here, and if I hit the retreat button, these units are going to run back to my headquarters, which is located here. So let's give a shot. Let's fire on the retreat path. Let's see if I can do this. It can be sometimes difficult to do so if you're playing against yourself. So if I start the barrage basically where the unit is and then point towards their retreat path, hopefully by the time the other player is aware and hits the retreat button, it'll be too late. Let's give this a shot. And I gotta make this guy enemy. So he's going to run, he's going to barrage, and if my units, maybe my Maximus here, oh no, a rocket's coming, retreat. Pretty significant damage. The unit's down to about half health, and I've killed a couple models. Pretty cool. The next tip that I have for you is to always shift-click a relocation move after you do your barrage. So what does that mean? That means after I say, hey, here's this enemy squad, and I want to kill these guys. I'm actually going to start about here. I can hold shift and click over here. So he'll fire the barrage. Almost. And then drive away. That way, when my vehicle shows up on the mini-map, or just if it's seen or spotted or heard, it will automatically drive away from that spot that I last fired. So maybe things like if you were next to a building, maybe the opponent wouldn't know to pop out partisans from that building, or counter barrage with some sort of an artillery gun or something like that. The next thing I want to cover is that this unit doesn't feature what's called heavy crush. So that means that it cannot run over infantry, not that you necessarily want to, but it also can't crush, say, a tractor or any kind of green cover such as sandbags. You see, it just kind of drives around. However, I was talking about partisans earlier, and if you are next to a building, and let's say you were concerned about partisans coming out of it, you can use it to destroy the building. So if I come over here and I draw this arrow here right towards the entrance, he should drive over there and ram into this building and then do some twisting. You can see this health is almost going down. I can do one more. Maybe I shift-click the order. Let's see if we can get him to drive over to the other side and fully collapse this building. Almost. I think this will do it. One more.
Driver, advance us forward.
This works particularly well on small buildings, but as you can see, larger buildings will be destroyed ultimately. The health of the building isn't as big of a deal as how many walls. Once you destroy all 4 walls, the building will topple. Next thing I want to cover is that the Walking Stuka has 320 health. Okay, 320, what does that mean? What does that mean? So, at 320 health, most tanks deal about 160 damage. So that's going to be tanks and AT guns, you know, a Panther, SU-85, things like that. Most of those deal about 160 damage per hit. So that means you're going to take about 2 hits before this guy dies. Or a bazooka. Bazookas only do about 80 damage, so you're looking at about 4 hits. So that's 2 volleys from maybe a captain or something like that that's coming up next to it. So we took a look at the range bonus at Vet 3, but let's take a look at the ability that happens at Vet 4. So once this unit gets Veterancy Level 4, it unlocks the Incendiary Barrage. It costs 100 munitions, and it gives you a reticle that looks like this. So although this reticle, typically as you get farther away, the reticle changes. It indicates how much spread, it indicates how big of a difference the barrage. However, even though it doesn't show it, it does make a difference. So if I fire, say, here, which is just absurdly close, we'll see that the incendiary marks will be pretty close together. Pretty tight spread there. However, let's get this off cooldown. If we fire at maximum range, as you would anticipate, it's going to be much more spread out. In fact, hardly anywhere that I actually aimed. So be mindful of that. And lastly, let's take a look at Veterancy Level 5. Seems, drives around like you would expect. Let's kick it up to Vet 5. Actually, let's get him a move order here. And you can see immediately he gets just that little bit level of speed and agility. Becomes a little bit of a YOLO wagon. Finally, the last thing I want to cover about this unit is its veterancy abilities. So there's a lot of great guides. I'll post some links in the description below of where you can see what the veterancy bonuses are for each unit. However, you can actually get at least a general idea in the game. If you take your mouse and you hover over the stars of veterancy that you see in the unit portrait. So we see Vet 1, okay, barrages can be fired more quickly. Vet 2, even faster. Vet 3, looks like it can shoot farther. Vet 4, you get the incendiary barrage. And Vet 5, it kind of turns into a YOLO wagon. Let's see what that actually means, however. So if I fire a barrage right now,
Ready rockets. Creeping barrage.
it should be roughly 110 and 113 seconds by the time it fires. If we kick that up to Vet 1, that drops it down to only 100 seconds. Vet 2 will drop it down to 70 seconds. And Vet 3, which is what I'm about to show you right now, will actually increase the range by about 30%. So let's get that cooldown back. So right now, if I want to barrage, what is 30%? So if I want to barrage, we're coming right to this gap in between the wood piles here. So let's go ahead. We'll give this unit Vet 3, which should give us our barrage increase. Let's see what that means. So we were here, and now we're way over here. So quite a significant distance here as far as its capability to barrage. Well, that about covers it for the Walking Stuka. Is there something that I missed? Is there maybe something even inaccurate? Is there something you'd like to know about next? Let me know in the comments below.
Ba bam bam ba dam bam.